and a traditional Prime Minister of the Amazulu Nation and the Amazulu Kingdom. I don't know if our links are able to show him as we introduce, but he will be joining us shortly to give us the message of support. Also in our midst is our brother, General Bantubonge Holomisa, MP, the leader of the UDM. General Holomisa has always supported AMCU, the widows, and the families on this day without fail since this massacre occurred. You are welcome, Comrade General Holomisa. He will also join us on links when he delivers his message of support. I also want to introduce and welcome the only leader in the Republic of South Africa who is still young, yet leading a very robust and very influential political party in the National Assembly and all provinces. The CIC of the EFF, Comrade Julius Malema, MP. He will also join us when he delivers his message of support. Let me also welcome the activist, former MP and former leader of the opposition party DA, whom also has been with us throughout this journey, Comrade Musi Maimane. I wish also to welcome and introduce our friends and social activists who also have supported AMCU in many battles, who are coming from AIDC. With us today, on my right-hand side, far right-hand side, we have Comrade Brian Ashley of AIDC. He is accompanied by Professor Noor Nifta Godin. You are welcome, sir. I also introduce our General Secretary, who is our Program Director, Comrade Jeff Mpahlele. Our National Chairperson Education, Comrade Kolani Bawoloshe. Sorry, Barin is a National Chairperson of Health and Safety, Comrade Kolani Bawoloshe. In our absentia, we also welcome through links our National Chairperson of Education, Comrade Neo Manghe. And also from head office, we welcome our HOD, Organizational Development, Comrade Christa van Rensbeck, who will also join us on social media links. I cannot, without introducing the main people whom, as we gather here today, our hearts are still with them. Allow me, comrades and ladies and gentlemen, to introduce our mothers and our sisters, whom we call widows of the deceased, who are also present here today in numbers. Our comrades, the injured and the arrested, who are also present here, you are welcome, comrades. The chairperson of the Rustenburg region, accompanied by his regional executive committee, Comrade Kriha. Comrades, you are welcome. The chairperson of the Mpumalanga Enkangala region, Comrade Mkabela, you are also welcome. The Secretary of the Mpumalanga Enkangala region, Comrade Spear, you are welcome. We also welcome all our branches for Sibanye Stillwater Marikana operations, formerly known as Lone Min. Comrades, this event will not be a success without your presence. You are all welcome. Not forgetting our friend, brother, and activist who stood by side of the poorest of the poor when others disappeared, represented the injured and arrested during the Falam Commission of Inquiry, our comrade senior counsel, Baba Udalimpov. You are welcome. In conclusion, I wish to welcome also our music performers, led by Ms. PDP, media present, and our production team, and all who are watching this event throughout the country and internationally. Brothers and sisters, you are all welcome. May God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Jimmy, for such an introduction and word of welcome to everybody present in this occasion. I also welcome you, Comrade Jimmy Gama, our treasurer. Shall we give him a big hand? Right. Now we know who is here. Many people are watching this service live through the social media. They are streaming, so they are watching every activity that is taking place here. So shall I now call Sister Pindi to give us a song, and then we move forward while my engineers there, they start preparing for the messages of support in the order that they have all the speakers from our different comrades organizations. Thank you.
Stop.
much for such a powerful rendition. Shall we give them a big round of applause? There is no any other name given under the earth, in the seas, in the skies, except God's name. It must satisfy us. Thank you for such a rendition. We are now going to be listening to the messages of support. I'm hopeful that they will be able to play those messages and connect with the comrades and presidents of organization while they wish us all well where we are right now. I will now give the podium to the activity of messages of support. So can you start right there? We would start with the employer representatives. If they have sent their message of support or they are connected to this, can we give them an opportunity? Okay, maybe they are not available at this point in time. Shall we get to Okay, maybe while we are sorting this out, shall I call Professor Nifta Kodim to come up front and give us a message of support?
Thank you very much, Comrade Chair. First of all, greetings to all of the comrades who are here, and particularly warm greetings to all the families, the widows of the heroes who lost their lives 9 years ago on the 16th of August 2012. We're very grateful that you've invited us to speak. I speak on behalf of the AIDC, the Alternative Information and Development Center, which has since 2012 been working very closely with AMCU from the time of the formation of the strike committees, in the fight against retrenchments at Amplats, and in the 5-month-long strike for a living wage. As many of the comrades here will know, that was a very difficult time. Many comrades lost their lives, many people were injured, but due to the militancy, the solidarity, the unity of the mine workers under the ban of AMCU, we were able to reduce the apartheid wage gap that has been with us since the founding of the mining sector in South Africa. Together with AMCU, AIDC has exposed the illicit outflow of money, which the companies use to stash away their billions and billions of rands in accounts across the world and claim that they don't have enough money to pay a living wage. We have, in our association with AMCU, also tried to expose the various ways that companies, including some directors of Samancor, have tried to evade tax payment, again to make the argument that they don't have enough money. We've come some way, as I said, in order to reduce the apartheid wage gap, but we still have a long way to go. And I think, as Comrade Reverend Paul Verheyen said at the beginning, what we are here for is, of course, to commemorate the killing, the assassination of workers on August the 16th. And we will continue doing this year after year. But what is particularly important, even as we come here to commemorate, to remember, is what we do between those days of commemoration. And the central issue before us, as it has been from day one, is the call that comes principally from the families, from the widows, but also from the union and society by Reverend Paul Verheyen. But where is the justice when 9 years after the massacre, and despite the findings of the Farlam Commission, despite what we all know, only 9 policemen have been charged with murder, 4 of whom have been acquitted? Where is the justice when we read in the past few days that Ria Piega, who was complicit in the murder and the violence that took place at Marikana, is spending close to 10 million rand simply to clear her name, even when court after court has found, have had adverse findings against her. All she wants to do is clear her name. Where is the justice when even 9 years after the massacre, we have not had a genuine apology either from the mining companies or from the ruling party? Where is the justice when President Cyril Ramaphosa is still not prepared to go and meet the widows to apologize directly to them? Where is it, as Comrade Paul Verheyen has said, the people around Marikana still live in abject poverty, still live in squalor? And what we have from Sibanye-Stillwater is what we call corporate whitewashing. And you will know that in April this year, they launched a Marikana renewal project. And that renewal project is not about improving the lives of ordinary people. It is not about overcoming the inequality that is so vividly present around Marikana. And yes, the platinum mine, Sibanye-Stillwater, is now one of the largest mining companies, one of the richest mining companies on the African continent and in the world. It represents, in that space of Marikana, the essence of South Africa, which is about inequality, where you can have a multinational company making billions of dollars, young people, young black women and men, unemployed, 50-60% unemployed, demonstrated against mine workers who were simply asking for a living wage. And yet, day after day, we are seeing the same kind of violence being perpetrated by the state against people who protest for a better living, whether it be people in Amadiba or people in Durban who belong to Abahlali, Basem Jondolo, and other movements across the country who are fighting for a better living. The state's response has been consistently in the way that they responded to the miners at Marikana, and that is to perpetrate violence against poor people who simply want a better life. Next year will be the 10th anniversary. And again, as Comrade Paul Verheyen said, we need to muster all our energy. It's been 9 long years. And when we look at the widows who year after year go from court case to court case, who had hope when they were there sitting for day after day, for many, many months at the Farlam Commission, hoping that the Farlam Commission would bring justice. And even when the Farlam Commission made its findings, what came out of those findings was silence, was a refusal by those who are in power to take seriously the findings of the Farnham Commission and bring justice to the families and particularly the widows of those who were killed. So as we prepare for the 10th anniversary, it becomes even more important that we try and muster, mobilize, organize, not only the people who suffered most as a result of the Marikana massacre, the families, but also the workers, the comrades. But we need to go beyond Marikana, and we need to make our demands for justice absolutely clear. We do need, at the most basic human level, a very clear, unambiguous apology, not only from the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, but also from the mining company and the ruling party. But for me, it's always been important that when they do apologize, that they call what happened on the 16th of August 2012 by its name, because they refused to do so. They refused to acknowledge that what happened there was a massacre. They use all sorts of words to get around it, and we have to insist that this is called by its real name, the massacre of Marikana. For years now, AMCU and the families have demanded that August the 16th should be called a national public holiday. And we do want a public holiday because we want to remember the massacre. We want to remember all the 44 people who died around the time of the dispute. Because we must never forget, it's important that we don't have a public holiday because we want to have braais. We want to have a public holiday because we want to say we will never forget what happened on 16th of August 2012. But more than that, we also want a public holiday because we don't ever want to forget 150 years of mining in South Africa that has had adverse consequences, that has killed tens of thousands of black mine workers across the southern African region, who've devastated communities from Malawi to South Africa to Lesotho for 150 years. Because when we do have a public holiday, we want to remember, we don't want to forget what mining has done to the people of the southern African region. We also want to remember that even today, despite what happened at Marikana, it is business as usual as far as the mining companies are concerned, in terms of the impact on the lives of people who go down to extract the riches, not for themselves, but for the Sibanye still waters of the world. But we also want to make a very clear signal in demanding a public holiday, that what we want to bring to the fore is the continuous devastation that the mining companies are having on the environment of our country and the world. They're destroying the environment every second of the day. And so when we think of justice, when we think of why we want a public holiday, it's because we want to bring all of these things together, because Marikana allows us to pull all of these things together and say a very clear no to the exploitation of mining, by mining, to the devastation by mining on black people, to the devastation of the mining companies on our environment. Finally, because I realize that my 9 minutes are almost over, when we talk about justice for Marikana, we need to remember that when the massacre happened, that what drove the massacre ultimately was a desire by the mining company to maximize its profits. What drove the democratic government to support that was because they support profit over the lives of people. And it's that very system of profit before people that is the reason for the continuous expansion of inequality in the country. Now, over the last 18 months, that poverty, that devastation on black lives, on poor people, and particularly on women, have been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. It is why, even before COVID-19 hit us, Comrade Matunjwa and other comrades from AMCO joined hands with movements of the unemployed, with comrades Wedenzima Vavi of SAFTU, and many other movements in the movement called the Cry of the Excluded, in order to amplify the voices of the poorest of the poor, of the millions of people who are unemployed and will probably remain unemployed in the system. It is why, when we come together and we think about what we do between commemorations, that it's critical that AMCO continues to play the leadership that is shown, not only in Marikana and in the mining sector, but in the country as a whole, to help pull together all of these movements and campaign for real changes, for genuine changes to the system. And an important campaign that we need to pull together almost immediately as part of our desire to have justice, not only for Marikana, not only for the widows, not only for the miners, but for all poor people in this country, is to ensure that we begin a big campaign for a basic income grant. We need to come together, because in that way, the kind of justice that we want will be the justice that will speak truly, substantively, to the needs of poor people in Marikana, in the Eastern Cape, and across the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Lifter Godin. We will go to the next speaker. Can you display the next speaker? The message of support. Thank you.
Amandla, first and foremost, you fought and you continue to fight. For that, we honor you, and I want to celebrate the workers. I want to greet the widows who are there and say, please, we stand with you, we support you, and your struggle is our struggle. Because we live in a country where government has long forgotten its people. And when the theme of today still remains, their blood still cries out from the grave, I say my words of condolences to you, for you, it is the empty and the lonely nights that remind you of such a tragic day. 9 years on, still no justice. We live in a government that relegates the life of an African to a life that is less than, that is subhuman. And I want to join fellow South Africans and Africans when we stand up and we say, miners' lives matter. We cannot cheapen the lives of miners, all in the interest of extracting resources for the benefits of a few at the expense of the many. And I want to say, as Africans and as South Africans, we need to stand up now and send a strong message to this government to say, we can never forget, and we remind you again of the theme that miners' lives matter. Fellow South Africans and President and Program Director, our tragedy today, 9 years on, says that still we have a leadership and a government that's still beset on empty promises. You see, I was there on the day when Ria Pierre gave the press statement the day after the massacre. I asked her that day, I said to her, Ria, who gave the order to send mortuaries and to send bullets to the people? She still could not answer. I still have not gotten answers. And I know for a fact that we have a government that favors politicians rather than the people. That's why none of them have been arrested and none of them have been charged, whilst in fact the orders would have come from the top to ensure that live ammunition in a democratic government was used against the poor of this nation who were simply demanding not just a wage, but dignity. Not just dignity, but the fact that apartheid and mining told them to leave their loved ones back in the villages to come and work in Marikana. They were seeking for compensation for such an immense sacrifice. And that today, no one has been arrested. Never make us forget that we have a government that sides with the politicians rather than with the people. A government that sides with the ANC rather than the hungry and the poor black Africans in this country. 55% of our people are still living on 1,138. Yet if you were to look at our minerals, you would say we are some of the wealthiest nation in the world. How can that be? Fellow Africans, we were promised action after Marikana, still nothing has happened. We were promised a president who was going to come and apologize, still nothing has happened. We cannot wait anymore. We must stand up collectively and say it is time for us to take action. For all intents and purposes, we still today in Marikana, nothing has changed. Instead, our people are living in worse conditions. They are still drinking water with animals in the country of their death. And I want to honor the lives of those who died on that day and say their sacrifices should never be in vain, and it ought to be the stain and the scar in this government till the day comes that we bring change. We maintain we must always stand on the side of the marginalized. Our crisis in this country is that we face a deepening level of poverty, and yet nothing seems to be done by this government. I want to say, President Mutumbi, I want to say to Omama, to say we demand nothing less than compensation. That a compensation fund must be established, Omama. Because their blood still speaks from the grave, we demand compensation for every life that was lost on the day. We furthermore say, if South Africa is to give, we best today make today a commemoration day, a public holiday. We may not need May Day, but what we need is Marikana Day. Because if they forget, they are going to do it again as they are doing it during COVID, where our people's rights are being subjected. We furthermore demand that it's not a question of compensation, but that miners must be given equity in mining companies. If we do that, it would have been a different story today, that mine widowers would have at least an equity and shareholding for every ounce of gold that is exported out of this country. And I want to support the previous speaker who suggests that we do need a basic income card. It cannot be that if more than 55% of our people are living on 1,138, that in fact we should carry on without shielding the most vulnerable from poverty. I draw inspiration from the people of Zambia, who said when they are unhappy with the government, they will bring change. I stand with those who say elections must proceed, because when they proceed, we can bring change in Marikana and bring about a new government so that the conditions of our people can be improved. We will no longer be hell-bent on this liberation story, where people carry on telling us that they freed us, therefore we owe them loyalty for life. We stand with our Kenyan brothers who say at first we must be liberated, and then we must liberate ourselves from the liberators. This is our moment, and I will not rest until those who even stand up and say the line has been drawn on corruption. I say where? corruption is still carrying on, our people are still hungry, looting still continues. The professional looters are walking around free, and instead they go after our people. Fellow South Africans, this is a moment, this is a time. President Tundu, I stand with you, I support the people, Ndito Mama, and all the widows of those who lost loved ones. I send my deep condolences. And I say this once and for all, that it is time that we see a post-ANC South Africa, a post-liberation South Africa, because if we don't, they will keep perpetuating injustices, and our people will start to wonder what the price of freedom is and why so many had to pay. I support you, I stand with you, and I thank you for the kind privilege to address this esteemed occasion. And we prepare for the 10th anniversary as we continue to say, Aluta continua, and that miners' lives matter. Amanda! Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ntate Musimaiman, for such inspirational words that you have given us this afternoon. We are going to go to the next speaker. Can you do that, please? Are we succeeding? I don't see anybody there. Okay, thank you. Okay, Ubaba Prince Buthelezi will speak on the mic. So can we give him a chance to address us? Thank you.
Thank you, Director of Programs. Thank you, President Machujo, Secretary General, fellow leaders, widows and orphans of Marikana, fellow South Africans. I appreciate the invitation from the General Secretary of Armed Group to stand in support of the families who so tragically and brutally lost loved ones on the 16th of August, 2012. I stand with the community who still mourns this loss, and I stand with our country as she weeps with the pain of injustice. Today we remember the 34 mine workers whose lives were taken on the 16th of August. We remember their call for fairness. We remember their call for a decent wage. And we remember their call for dignified living conditions. We remember the courage it took to risk their livelihood to speak up for justice. Little knowing that they have sacrificed their very lives. Today we also remember the families for whom they took their stand, families who depended on their income. It is these families who need healing, who need closure. For 9 years has not yet removed their pain. There are adults among us who were children at that time, when their fathers were taken by bullets from guns that belonged to our state. How do you console them? How do you explain to them why their fathers are gone? We cannot explain because it should not have happened. It cannot be justified. Why must we fight for justice and demand equality when the struggle was supposedly won 27 years ago? Unless we open ears and eyes of those who hold power in our country to the plight of the poor and oppressed, the victim of 1984 will be followed. How many more targets will it take? Surely lost lives is enough. Surely the man's missing. When the blood of our people is confronted with closed ears and closed eyes, the sin of disaster is sown. 9 years after Marikana, we have seen again that the suffering of the people cannot go on forever. The wave of civil unrest, looting, violence and destruction that has swept across KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng is another evident signal that all is not well in our country. Our people are suffering. The pain of social and economic injustice will always be rough unless we act to change it. Having stood for justice and equality all my life, I'm grateful to all who shared this battle. President Matunga and Amku have been consistent in working for closure, for healing and commemoration of Marikana. It is humbling to join you today. We know that our battle is not yet won, but it is a battle worth fighting for as long as it takes. We do it so that suffering will finally cease in our country. Not sometime in the distant future, but now, for our children as well as our grandmothers. We cannot say to the elders, oh, don't worry, your children will be free. Because the liberty we long for is already our right. It's already enshrined in our democratic constitution. There is no justification whatsoever for allowing suffering to go on. No leader should be able to sleep at night, knowing the fate of our nation. It is this that keeps me and my age in the service of my country, my people. Please, God, may the suffering finally cease. Inkosi Sikelele, Africa.
Siyabonga amazwi enduduzo namazwi okukhuthaza kubaba uMangosuthu Prince Buthelezi. We are now going to move to General Bantu Holomisa. The floor is yours, sir.
Oh, so coffee.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, General.
Thank you. I was saying the program director, president of AMCU and your executive, widows and orphanages, colleagues and members of AMCU. This tragedy will remain a blot on the history of this country as it exposed South Africa's leadership, our erstwhile liberators, as no better than their forerunners, who far too easily used the undue force to quell our people into submission with brutal force, with brute force. To this day, there has been no remorse shown, no heartfelt apology, no visits with affected families from the powers that be. From a legal standpoint, no one has taken responsibility, and government has dug and dived at every turn and hope that people will forget. We must not allow this to happen. Given what had happened and the proof of the large-scale looting of state resources that are being exposed, there is now an abundance of evidence of the character of our leaders in government. Question iti, sawusoloko sisithini, sawuhlala kule ngcinezelo, sihlishena ngabantu abezibizwa bangama-revolutionary. Letho besitya imali karhulumente, ii-services zingaqhubeleki, abantu behlale bugxwayeleki. Ndicebisa mna into yokuba mhlawumbi between now and 2024, bonke abantu abangekho happy yile miqhubekayo phantsi korhulumente ka-ANC ke bahlangane phantsi komnqumba abeke i-way forward. Umuntu angabesiqele kungu-political party X, but sifumane isolution uba sawuphuma njani kwezi zigebenga, because namasela ayasibetha njengangoku kunyuswe imali yepetrol ezawufuna iyongcima laa ngxabano yabo yaseKwaZulu bayenzileyo balwa ngayo e-KZN uze kude kube khona le-distraction ikhona. Sawuphuma njani? Abasoze silindele uba masikhululwe ngabo. Bafelishile abantu, baphelele. We must not cause them to be. I, on behalf of the United Democratic Movement, express our condolences and sympathies with the Marikana community and the affected families and ghosts.
Recording in progress.
Thank you very much, General Bantu Wonke Holomisa, for this word of encouragement. I think we have another speaker there, the CIS of EFF. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Chairperson and the President of AMCU, President Matunga, the leadership of AMCU, the survivors of the Marikana massacre, and the legal representatives who have done and have been doing a very good work till this far. We are here to once more send our heartfelt condolences to the families of those who were brutally killed by this government of the ANC. We say this without any fear of contradiction that it is the ANC government led by President Zuma and deputized by Ramaphosa which killed the people at Marikana. It was Marikana massacre which was necessitated by greediness of the current president of the ANC and that of the country, who called for concomitant action against our people who were characterized as criminals by the former Minister of Minerals and many others at that time. To us, we never saw criminals. We saw hard-working workers who were demanding 12,500 to go and feed their children. Till today, justice has not been served. We went to release them from prison. We went to release them from hospitals where they were wounded. We buried those who got killed. Till today, justice has not been served. Final Commission came where people spoke and contradicted each other. Till today, no one has been arrested. No one has been fired on the basis of wrongdoing in Marikana. We opened the case at Marikana police station. We mentioned Sir Ramaphosa by name, Susan Shawangu, Nadine Tetwa, as suspects who might have participated in the killing of our people in Marikana. Till today, they have not been questioned, they have not been arrested. Some of them are still ministers. And what makes matters worse, one of the suspects is now occupying the highest office in South Africa. We are partly to be blamed ourselves as South Africans, because when we had an opportunity to punish them by rejecting them in the courts because they've entrusted one of the suspects with a higher responsibility, we did not use that opportunity. Preparations are not paid. We have not killed anyone as the EFF in Marikana, but already we have contributed 1 million rands into the trust that is aimed at looking after the widows and the children of those who were killed. But those who killed our people have not contributed, not be innocent. We want to call upon the legal representatives to intensify that case to ensure that our people, survivors, and the families of those who are there are paid both by the state and Cyril Ramaphosa as an individual who participated and led to the butchering and the killing of our people. We call on the NPA to prosecute Ramaphosa, and if they are not going to prosecute Ramaphosa, they must issue a non-prosecuting letter as the EFF want to prosecute Ramaphosa through private prosecution. And we are making this call now, and we commit to give a report on progress we have made in the celebration of the 10th anniversary, where we report whether we are succeeding with private prosecution. It's 9 years since we opened the case. I opened the case myself at Marikana Police Station. No policeman has ever contacted me. No prosecutor has ever contacted me, which is very clear that they are covering up for each other. We challenge the NPA to issue a non-prosecuting letter. If they don't do that, in the next 3 months, we are taking them to the High Court so that they either prosecute or they allow us to pursue a private prosecution. It is a waste of time when leaders speak in mixed tongues and we don't understand what they are talking about. These people have run away with murder. That's why they are awarded good positions, because when we speak, our people do not understand what we're speaking about. We know that we are having a serious problem in South Africa. Our biggest problem now is the judiciary of South Africa. A huge attempt is being made to capture the judiciary. You know why? Because the judiciary and the judges in particular are being made to be more important than the Constitution itself. People are scared of judges more than being scared of the Constitution, and as a result, they want to put their own judges so that their judges can pursue their political agenda. We need to protect our judiciary with everything. The highest form of incompetence that we see in the judiciary must never be tolerated. How can the Constitutional Court say a matter is agent? Take 3 months to resolve an agent matter. It's no longer agent once you take 3 months to resolve an agent matter. We are sitting now on a rescission application, which the Constitutional Court said you must respond to this rescission application within 3 days. The legal representatives have done that. It's now more than a month. A Constitutional Court has not given us a decision. When you speak of this incompetence, you are told you are attacking the judiciary. Judges are not above the Constitution. Judges are not more important than the Constitution. The effectiveness of that Constitutional Court is very important and can protect our democracy. We are going to the same court. Having made these observations, we are still going to the same court to demand that the people of Marikana must have justice. And with the EFF on your side, you must be guaranteed that we will fight until there is justice. And Ramaphosa must know that he may face this matter now. If he doesn't face it now because he's abusing his office and manipulating processes, will go and fetch him at home when he retires, like it happened to his predecessor. As the and a total career from the war from way from the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Malema, CIS of EFF for such powerful and encouraging word of action. Thank you very much. Now I am going to call Comrade Gama to the podium to read a message from one of our friends who hails from England, who also has sent us a message of support.
Thank you, Comrade Gias. I'm going to read the message of support from Advocate Jim Nicol, who was representing AMCU during the Fulham Commission. My heart goes out to the Marikana families. Please give my greetings to all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jim. You have been a good friend all these years. Shall we now listen to music? I'm going to ask Pindi and her group to give us one song, and thereafter we're going to listen to 2 more messages. Thank you.
Sikonda ekaya lithi nina umasina tieni galutola masiko balama Kata
Thank you very much. Let's give them again another hand of applause. Siyabulela ukudla komphefumulo. Siyaqhubeka kanjalo ke sizobiza umama lana noKhanyi eze abe nentetho ayibekayo on behalf of umama esinabo phakathi kwethu. Over to you.
Mandithathe elixesha ndibulise wonke umuntu okhoyo kule ndlu, ndibulise abasebenzi, ndibulise abahlolokazi neefamilies, ndibulise abameli bethu, ndibulise ngokukhethekileyo umongameli wethu Bawo Mathunjwa kunye nabamngqongileyo, ndinguNosakhe noKhamba. Ndithunywa zintsapho zamadoda aswelekela eMarikana ngo-2012. Ukuba mandithi namhlanje sekuphela iminyaka 9 kodwa asikaluboni utshintsho, asikayifumani namhlanje impendulo yokuba ngubani owathi makubulawe abayeni bethu, ngubani owanika igunya amapolisa kuba mababulale abayeni bethu. Kuthiwa mandizokuxelela urhulumente weli lizwe ezi zinto zine. Ukuba urhulumente makaqiniseke ukuba abantwana bethu njengoba befunda bayafunda bagqibe, bathi apho bagqibe khona baphiwe imisebenzi. Nangoku bakhona abantwana sebegqibile usebenza, abanye bakhona apha phakathi kwethu kodwa bakawufumana umsebenzi. Sicela loo nkxaso ke kurhulumente wethu. Kuthiwa mandizokucela kurhulumente wethu ba olu suku lwanamhlanje alenze iholiday ukwenzela uba lungaze lulityalo olu suku nokuba sesingekho ze bathi nabazukulwana bethu bayazi uba kungayiwanga nje emsebenzini kungenxa yoba kwabulawa oyisemkhulu. Izolo umntanam owashiywa nguyise ena 11 months useRustenburg. Uyafowuna mama uyaya emsebenzini ngomso, ndithi ewe. Athi hayi mama ayisasikhumbuzo sikatata na? Ndithi ewe mntanam bengafuna ukuxelela. Siyacela olu suku malenziwe iholiday. Uthe lo mntana xa ndivisa ubuhlungu utheni thina mama sizawuya esikolweni kodwa kukhunjulwa ootata bethu? Ndathi mntanam nakuze niyeke ukuya esikolweni mhla olu suku lenziwa iholiday. Sisahamba amatyala, elinye lalo matyala seliphelisiwe, lichithiwe, akafunyanwanga umntu onetyala kodwa ufile umntu ebulewe kabuhlungu ngamapolisa. Sinombuzo ke sizezi families esubhekisa kumongameli welizwe uTata Ramaphosa. Kodwa kube nini ungasikwa yimfesane ngenxa yefamilies? Kodwa kube nini ungasikwa yimfesane ngenxa yabantwana bethu? Kodwa kube nini mongameli ungasikwa yimfesane ngenxa yabasebenzi? Kodwa kube nini mongameli welizwe ungasikwa imfesane ngenxa yeMarikana yonke? Ngoba eMarikana apho kwenzeka khona esisiganeko kumdaka, kuphathile. Ekopini apho kwafela khona amadoda angamashumi onke akukho nento ebonisayo. Imiphefumlo yabayeni bethu ayiphumlanga, inyathelwa ngabantu, inyathelwa imfuyo. Kutheni lento tata ungakukhathaleli kangaka ukufa kwabayeni bethu? Ndiyabulela.
Siyabulela mama Abhlungu lawa mazwi. The only thing esingayisho ukuthi uma uhulumende wethu eSouth Africa enezindlebe magezwe okuthethwa labuma. Sizocela manje othetha on behalf of the injured ukuthi eze ngaphambili. Bendimbone ehleli phaya ngisamboni manje. Izaqoqa waza ngaphambili tata.
Viva Amco, viva! Viva Amco, viva! Phansi ngamasela phansi! Thatha Amco, thatha! Mandinibulise nonke ngokulingana. Sizwe sakuthi asizube siqhathana. Kumele siqonde ukuba umlando sawubhala ngegazi. Kona kubhlungu. Kodwa ubuhlungu sibunyamezele ngoba benziwa ngabantu ngamabomu. Hayi ngoba bengaboni bayabona. Abanye babo sebehalele ngase singabikho nje. Kuthiwa sikho nje. Ndakamathunjwa usengxakini njengoba namhlanje ndisengxakini. Uyalibona oluchaba ndalo hulumente sijongene naye. Ndithi ndimjonga ndibone ngathi kukwangcono kwaziganeko ezasenziwa uhulumente weapartheid. Kuba yena sasisazi ukuba ngamabhulu abulalo tata. Kodwa namhlanje udano lokuba sihlukunyezwe kangaka ngurhulumente wentando yesininzi. Yabona ke kufikelele ixesha lokuba sithethe inyaniso. Asinazo ileader eSouth Africa. Ileader ezikhoyo zijongene nezisu zazo. Namhlanje ndimacangweni kubhlungu kum. Mna mntu kudala ndisitsho ndisithi ukuba ngaba akubanjwa abantu kulela nto kaya lapha eMarikana. Kwesi siganeko saseMarikana funeka niyazi ba le nto izophinda phinda. Ngoba isiganeko esingakhuzwanga siyaphinda. Zenjonge into eyenzeke eKZN. Nijongisise kakuhle lo tata uRamaphosa ukuba ngaba mhlawumbi njengoba emnyama nakum inoba yena uthi nazicinga axelele ubungumlungu Mna ke ngcono nomlungu nangesibonga limazi nongumlungu wompumhlobo. Iyandikhathaza ke into yokuba sihlukunyezwe yi-ANC ngelihlobo. Ndizocela kakhulu ngokuzithoba. I-UDM ne-EFF kunye ne-IFP masike sihlangane ziguzule le-ANC. Zenze lanto sayenzayo nxa sibona i-NUM ukuba ngaba ayisikhathalalanga phaa ezimayini. Sathatha isigqibo kwafa abantu kodwa okusalayo sathi asizujika toti kude nathi impilo zethu ezimayini zibe ngcono. Kubhlungu ke ngoku nasizobona ilizwe lichabalala ngabantu abahleli kamnandi emizini yabo abenza unothanda ezimpilweni zethu. Sizwe simnyama kuyonakala kunzima xa abantwana babantu befengela hlobo nathi saphulukana nemiphefumlo yabantu akethu esasibabona besifa phambi kwethu nathi singazazi noba sofa kanjani, noba sizofa noba sizosinda na. Ukuba ngaba aniyiboni lento elizwe ndiyanixelela impi eyozenzeka apha idalwa nguye lo rhulumente ngoba kanayo inkathalo. Ukhetha imali endaweni yokukhetha impilo yomuntu. Ubhlungu bam ke nxa sinothetha nje ngehistory sebesihlukumeza ngaphezulu kwenkosi. Iinkosi zona ziyakwazi ukusinyamezela zisiqonde uba singabantu bazo. But xa sijonga indlela esitritwa ngayo ugovernment we-ANC ngongathi nee-minister zazo zifana nje ne-HR phaa kwi-mining. Ubhlungu bam naphaa kwisibanye mntakaMathunjwa ukuba ngaba awumboni uGwede Mantashe laa tata ndandicinga ukuba nxa ezothatha esasihlalo soba wayeyazi into uba yena noko uyawazi umgodi nxa ezoba nguminister wezimbiwa nguyena mntu oyazi intlungu nemfoba yabantu ababesebenza emgodini uba baphile iphini impilo. Kodwa into ebuhlungu kukuba ndibone abantu bakuthi nxa kungene isibane kubonakala uba ilona xesha lokuba abantwana babantu mabaphelelwe imisebenzi apho bekufanele kanti kuyaphuhliswa kule ndlala ingaka. Isibanye ayizange zonceda sizwe sakwethu, sizodestroya impilo zabasebenzi ngakumbi imember ze-AMCO. Macomrade hayi ngoba ingathani nambeko abanye abantu bazonithatha mhlambi noba kutheni lento nigxothwa kangaka nditsho kuni leadership yam kungoba zonke ii-leaders eziphaa kwi-management yesibanye ngamagqala we-NUM. Funa unixelela banikezwe izikhundla besuka kwi-NUM nizosokola, nizobuthwala ubunzima. Funeka nisebenzise le ngoba niyisebenzisi le nizophela bese kuthi i-AMCO ayisebenzi. Ayikho ke i-union enofana ne-AMCO noba ngaba zazilele nditsho nelizweni lalilele napheParliament ubonile ba babelala ndikufuna babone ba boyothuka kodwa emveni kokuba sabakhombisa ukuba elizwe lilizwe elaza ngegazi ibhlungu yona lento ndiyithetha ngoba nxa sizothi kuba simnyama yonke into esifuna ke siyitholile siyithole ngoba kufuneka kuchitheke igazi andazi noba ingathi sihambele kwelizwe ilizwe lokhokhweli futhi asizukuyika soyikiswe zimafia ezifana noTato Ramaphosa ezithengisa igazi labantu ukuze zithole indlela yokuba zibe zisityebi ngicela siyibambeni lixesha lokuba nxa kuyokhethwa kuyiwa kwivoti nikhuphe lento ibolile lento sikuyo andivotelwa nini ukuba ngaba bendingumuntu onamandla benzohamba nikhankasa ndisithi makuphumani futhi into endikhathaza kakhulu ukuba babaleka kakhulu baye phaa ezilalini kweza ndawo zihlala oTata omkhulu bethu bebaqhatha ngathi bazobaphelelisa ngepeyi ipeyi ngeke iphele phumani kulento kusekwa ngoko ibhlungu into endiyibone pha eDurban ndiyacela kahambo omthatha amzise kwindawo esihlangene kuyo ebhasini uMadwantsa kanolunga ngenxa yesimo esikuye futhi ke mina ndiyasazi uba uyasiphila nomuntu ongayiqondi into yaseMarikana uyibona pha kuye kodwa ndiba nombuzo oyi-1 ukuba umntana omntu azibuhlamba kanjani efike pha kwabo cela kakhulu amkho ndiyanicela kakhulu ukuba nindincedeni endaweni yokuba andithi amapolisa wona ayingobantu nabo ngabantu abafuneka bencediwe ngoba babesetyenziswa ngulo rhulumente ngiqinisekile nabo abantwana babantu ngoku bayazisola namvuma mupiyerha pha ethetha izolo ndimmamele kanti qala wena esibindi ngathi sendoda nakunamhlanje ufuna ukuveza inyaniso ebekade ngazivezi sizidinga ekubeni sichutshiswe kangaka kwinto yaseMarikana namhlanje nithetha noxolana aba banamatyala nam angapheliyo singenzanga nto ndicela mntaka Mathunjwa kule ndawo buthatha kuyo nokuba incinci kangakanani ungutata ochubekileyo futhi obathandayo abantu bakhe cela wakhele nje indawo noba indawo yokuhlamba umntaka Madwantsa kowabo futhi ingabi yonto ezothatha ixesha elide ngoba ndiyambona uba uhleli ixesha elide ahlala apha elantukeni kwezindlu zemayini hayi ngoba ethanda ngoba ucingeli apha suka khona buyasokola wayengekho nje zangazwale nje kodwa kwaba nje ngenxa yesimo akufuneki naye ade azibuza umbuzo mhlawumbe athi ingabe lakhe igazi alifani nabanye abantu na ngicela kakhulu amkho ninenzele nje lo favor nimakhele nje indawo yokuhlamba khona ukuze naye azive noba uyaphuma kowabo aqonde ukuba bakhona abantu abamqume umqolo mandinibulise futhi sizosakwethu ndinixelele into eyokugqibela efuneka niyimamelisisile anithandi ukuyithetha nje into ebubuxoki kodwa ndithi ukuba nimboni lo tata uRamaphosa nisezoba sengxakini lento ayenzileyo usezophinda yenza nakwabanye ngoba kanankathalo. Ungupresident welizwe. Kufe abantu more than engabazi noba bangaphi ngaphe eDurban. Zanga kaye nakancinci. Uthi nobuyathetha umbone bana kwezinto zokuba kuphangwe ubutyebi balapha ibe ngumuntu olungiselela nje yena ngongathi yena umsulwa ekubeni yena etyebe ngeloni nini ukuze silimale kungenxa yakhe. Andizomyeka ndithi makandibhatale khona ukuze ndizomkhombisa abantu ukuba banjani njengoba ebambise utata uZuma nalapha kum uzothi shu tata uZuma ndophule ndiyatsha. Uyaya kulanda yeye tata uZuma futhi uzoya ndonwabile ngoba utata uZuma kukho into wayengayiqondi nxa efihla amabibi womuntu owenze ukungcola kwelizwe. Ecinga ukuba ungumuntu kanti uthatha imamba apha ezinyokeni engenankathalo ngumuntu. Ndicela kakhulu kuni families ningawalahla amakhaya wenu, ningabalahli otata benu. Zeniyazi into uba le nto yenzeke kuthi nathi sasingayithandi kodwa sabona uba isenzeka futhi sasingayiplananga bizokwenzeka kuthi ngoba amapolisa siyawazi uba ngabantu abagcina ucwangco ayingobantu bokubulala. Ningawalahla amakhaya khona ukuze intsana zenu zezikhulele kwizandla zenu ezifudumeleyo. Sendinibonile ndihambe nani ixesha elide ngoba abaqotho nganguThixo anibusise kuthi kule ndlela kudala seyihamba ekugqibeleni zibe khona iziqhamo ngoba kukhona mnye onguThixo apha emhlabeni. Ngelinye ilanga izovela le nyaniso kudala seyifuna futhi nathi uzosiphendulela, uzosithethelela uNkulunkulu noba sesingasekho. Inyani ayidibani nobuxoki. Siyathanda asithandi kodwa into eyenzeka kuthi ibuhlungu. Cela siqineni.
Sibonge kakhulu umyalezo esiwutholayo ucomrade wethu abanye abathola ukulimala kulesihele kwesehlela phaya eMarikana. So siyabulela kakhulu kuyo yonke imiyalezo esitholile namhlanje ezwelana nathi. Siwumbutho weAMCO nomama balahlekelwa abayeni babo kule ndaba, our comrades. There's one golden point, a runner. We were wonke ama messages ukuthi after all this had happened, there's been no justice. There's been no justice kuyo yonke lento eyenzeka. And two, Zonke Speaker, they are touching on the issue of the continuous suffering that we see abantu basahlala kumaskwala conditioned. So konke lokho akho umuntu onenkathalo ngako. Service delivery kuyo yona le ndawo la kwehleka yonke le nhlekelele ayibonakali. There's nobody who cares. Empty promises until now. Bate by crowneke umama wathi we demand ukuthi umhla ka 16 kuAugust udeclare yiwo lo hulumeni lo as a public holiday yokukhumbula lolo suku. Siyabulela ke sidlulela phambili uphindi neband bazosipha umuntu wodwa bese sibiza uadvocate Musikidi ozosinikeza iupdate ngeMarikana Trust.
ke rata ho dumedisa kaofela ka lebitso la ya o halaela ka lebitso ke Teboho Mosikidi ke kopile ke tlo bua on behalf of the Marikana Massacre Trust. Ngiyalibulisa bonke kakhulu abomama ngithi sanibonani. Siyayisabi COVID. I can't see your beautiful faces anymore. Sigcoka ama mask. But I'm happy that sisadibana apha. Sikhumbule lelanga lelibalulekile. I-trust ithe kakhulu we are still and remain committed to the promises we made a few years ago, exactly 9 years ago. And it is our intention and our very good intention to make sure that izithembiso sazenza to the families will maintain those ones, not only to the families, but to those who are related to isahlakalo saseMarikana. We will help. Babumzoxolo ngivile uthetha uthi there are comrades abahlela phaya ekhaya where we can do something. I think it's something that as ama trust we can also, as trustees, we can also think about it. Can we not assist where possible? So Sinvile, Siaguva, we'll definitely think about it. We'll also consider assisting and soteta now with one Sizanjan. Oh mama sizwile mamuthetha uthi ezinye ingxaki uthi some of the children of the deceased have gone through education system but they remain unemployed. And I think it's something that we as the trust must also see if we can table it and see what and where we can do. The members of the trust, especially Wabunzebeza, he said, I must send his apologies. Advocate Mr. Nzebeza, he cannot attend, but he is certainly with us in spirit in every way. I think Ugame already explained and read a message from Advocate Jim Nicol, who's overseas in UK, who has already sent his messages to you. Ubabumpo Fukona Lana, Senior Counsel, as one of the members of the trust. Ubabukamo Kona Naye, and under our leadership, a comrade Ubabu Joseph Matunjwa Naye, as one of the trustees. What I wanted to do is just to give you a feedback, which is despite all the difficulties that we have, or the challenges we face because of mainly indaba the COVID, it's been difficult to continue, at least to finish the project because of our restrictions, because of COVID regulations during lockdown, especially hard lockdown. But none of that affects our commitment, and I can safely say that right now the only place we haven't covered it's Ilisutu, and because of the obvious lockdown restrictions. Apart from that, I wanted to read to you, at least to show how far we have spread the projects of building the houses that you have promised. I just want to read out, just to show you by way of reading out the names of the towns that you have covered. And actually, we have also covered Swaziland. But just to show by reading out, last Sisi Akekona Imizi, Estekspruit, we've been there. Etujwa, we've been there. Lusikisiki, we've covered. Mkandule, we've covered. Vanderbijl Park here in Vaal, we have covered. Ekrocha, we've been there as well. Mthatha, sesifikile nakhona. Engeleni, we've been there. Elibode, we've also built houses there. Etsolo, we've also built houses there. Lady Freya, Emon Fletcher, Ekala. I think it's called Kala, yes. I think that's where Uamsebenza Buyakhona. And Tabankulu, we've been there as well. Epizana, we've also built houses there. Ngiyamazi Mam Telejani akekho namhlanje, but she's very much appreciative of the house that she has. Some of you will remember Mam Telejani is the widow to Undati Telejani who was at a very late age of his life, and Loanmen and the government refused to compensate him, to say that he was not employed by Loanmen, even though he went to work every day wearing uniform Loanmen, simply because he was not employed directly by Loanmen. So that family suffered huge prejudice because there were every attempt to at least dismiss their claim on very frivolous grounds. But as the trust, we've said, and we continue to say, that we will not discriminate. Where we can, we'll assist all the 44 families that lost their loved ones, irrespective of whether you belong to AMCU or any other union, or of your employment, including the police, that we have reached out, and we continue to reach out to them as well, to those families, to say that we want to help. And this is my shout out to them, without calling names, but they know that we have made efforts and we continue to do so, because we've made a promise that we will not discriminate. At the end of the day, it is the blood of a black man that was spilled on that day. That is the bottom line. Matatiele, we've also recently been there. I think Mam Sebezani will testify to that. And Kampumza, Emont Elif, we've also covered that. So we try by all means to make sure we fulfill what we have done. And we really thank you. We thank all those who have made contributions to the trust. Money is always a problem, but we thank you from everyone else, especially Abasebenzi, where they said, please, you can take a bit from our salaries to contribute to the trust. That's the biggest sacrifice they can make, to say, for our fallen brothers, we'll contribute something. We continue to thank you, comrades, for that big sacrifice, because it has made a difference. We thank AMCU itself for the financial muscle they've pumped in. We thank the political parties that have also contributed. We thank South African individuals as well who have made contributions to the trust, and we welcome every assistance. As I've already alluded, the problems are still there every day, even though we don't talk about Marikana every day, but I think Ubaba gave a good example to say the struggle continues. It's a living pain that he has, but not only him, but also his fellow comrades. And as the families, Umama Bacho and Guti, there are other eminent problems that we can assist. So we thank you so much on behalf of the trust. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Musikili, for giving us an update of what AMCO could do without any assistance, but by the assistance of our fellow comrades, to meet the needs of our comrades who died brutally so at Marikana. I am now going to call Ndate Dali to come up front and give us an update in terms of the cases. Thank you.
Mandla, awethu, Mandla, awethu, qina msebenzi, qina, qina msebenzi, qina, phambili nge-AMCU, phambili, phambili President Mathunja, phambili, Mandla. Phansi ngababulali phansi. Phansi ngababulali phansi. President of AMCU, Comrade Joseph Matunjwa, Bishop Vereen, the leadership of AMCU, honored guests, and the comrades from AIDC, but most importantly today, comrades from AMCU and the leadership, and the survivors, the widows of our fallen heroes, and those who have survived this massacre. I greet you all, South Africans. I just want to start by saying that before I give the usual legal report of where we are or how far we've gone, we have to put this occasion in its true perspective. Last year I said, and I want to repeat, that we must really be very grateful for AMCU, the president of AMCU and his leadership, for one thing and one thing only, for making sure that this occasion takes place every time on the 16th of August. And that the battle against forgetting is defeated in relation to this massacre. That contribution will go down in history. I was watching in the past week, particularly this weekend, the comprehensive coverage of this matter and the build-up even in the media, which was unprecedented. And I said, it looks like now this is an event that can actually move on its own. Doesn't even need us to organize anything. And part of that battle against forgetting must be supporting the call that was made here by the victims, the widows and the survivors. A call that was made even from the very first commemoration that the 16th of August should be declared a public holiday. And it should actually be, the Workers' Day of South Africa should be on the 18th of August. And when AMCU made that call, they made it clear that, so that nobody is going to say we have too many public holidays, that whole public holiday should replace the 1st of May. Because for the workers, it doesn't matter whether they are recognized on the 1st of May or the 23rd of November, as long as there is a day that recognizes the workers. And what other day can be more fit? But why do we say the 16th of August and we talk about a massacre? Some people say that it means that the other people who lost their lives are not important. The police, the security guards, and other workers. But as Deboho explained now, as the Marikana Trust, we have extended the assistance, the little assistance that we can give to all the 44 victims of that week. But it is not to say that the other lives are not important. Every life is important. People, even those who die today from car accidents or whatever, their lives are important. We recognize the massacre. The massacre is what happened on the 16th of August. So the other comrades who fell also fell, but they did not fall as a result of the massacre of the 16th of August. Just as in the 60s, there were many people who were victims of apartheid, who were killed by the brutal apartheid forces. But we recognize the Sharpeville massacre because the massacre happened on that date, 21st of March. So that is the perspective, that's the reason why we recognize this day. It is not to belittle anybody's life. What happened in Marikana happened over a period of a week. And on most of those days, lives were lost or people were seriously injured. So when we recognize the 16th of August, we recognize that entire period. Very briefly, because of time, I will tell you what happened to avoid some of the misinformation. On the 9th of August, on Women's Day, the workers went from shaft to shaft, and they went to the hostels, and they spoke to each other. They specifically decided that they were not going to involve their unions to secure the unity of the workers, because they knew that some of them belonged to different unions and others were not even affiliated to any unions. On the 11th of August, the workers marched to the offices of where the HR is housed. They went there, you can see the pictures. Some people were even holding leaves. They just broke leaves from branches and leaves from the trees. Others were carrying sticks, others were carrying placards. They sent 5 people to go and speak to the HR. They were told that they must bring the unions, no one is going to speak to them. And they went back from that march. They decided to go to the offices of the NUM to say that we've been told that we cannot make these grievances without the unions. That office is next to the hostel. When they went there, the leadership of the local leadership, maybe fearing whatever they were fearing from some of their own members and the workers, decided to arm themselves and there were some shots that were fired at the workers. They ran away. In that process, 2 members were killed, 2 of the workers. Not killed, they were injured, they were shot. Once those people were shot at, before that the workers were meeting outside of the stadium, which belongs to Lonmin. And they decided that they were no longer safe because some of the people who were with the union people were officials of the mine. That decision was taken there and then as people were running and they ran back. The stadium, those who know the area, is not far from the NUM offices. They decided there and then to say, we are no longer safe, let us not gather here. That's how the Kopi came into being. They said, we cannot gather here because this is Lonmin territory. Let's go to the Kopi. And that's how they went to gather from the Kopi. On the 11th, on the 12th, a group of workers from the Kopi broke away, a small group, and went back to the union offices. And it was on that occasion that sadly 2 of the security guards were killed. On the 13th, a group of workers broke, about 200 of them broke to go to the management offices near Korea. On their way back, they met up with a group of police. They were blocked by a group of police led by General Mbembe. Mambush was the leader of that group, negotiated. You can hear there's an audio clip where Mambush said something like 13 times, I think, "We are not fighting. We just want to go back to join the group in the Kopi." The police wanted them to lay down the weapons that they were carrying. And they said, "We will give you these weapons when we get to the Kopi." An agreement was reached with the police that the police will escort the workers back to the Kopi where they will collect. Mambush even said, "Then you can collect all the arms." It took about 5 minutes even less, from the place where that agreement was reached, as the workers were walking, that a policeman threw tear gas because there was disagreement among them. It now has come out in court. There was a group that thought this was a soft approach. The others were saying, "No, let's just act." Those people threw tear gas and pandemonium arose. Obviously, that's what would happen. And that was the trigger of what actually, in my view, led to the massacre. Because in that period of a few minutes, 3 strikers were killed and 2 policemen were killed in the pandemonium that resulted. And from that point, obviously, attitudes hardened on both sides. On the 14th, nothing happened. Somebody was killed, or somebody was suspected to be an informer, and the police confirmed in their evidence that they had spies that were part of the people on the mountain. On the 15th, according to the police, that was the day when the massacre was supposed to happen initially, except that by intervention of our spirits, it so happened that in the morning, the late Xolani Gwala interviewed both President Matunjo and Mr. Zokwana, who was the president of the NUM. And in that morning, both of them committed to Xolani Gwala on SAFM that they were prepared to speak to each other and intervene. Indeed, they did intervene. Bishop Sioka, President Matunjo, and various other people tried. You will remember that the workers had decided not to go there by unions, but they fortunately welcomed President Matunjo. By that time, it was already late because they had to go and attend a briefing by the police. It was already dark, and they told Matunjwa that he must come back tomorrow because it's dark now, we cannot see. And what happened is that the meeting was postponed. The workers rejected the leadership of the NUM. And the following morning, indeed, Matunjwa woke up and went to the mine. The bishop again was there. And after they gave them the runaround, because it was clear now the decision had been taken. So when Matunjwa went there to say, "Oh, well, now we've agreed that we'll come the following day, we're here now," they were given the runaround. The bishop was sent from pillar to post. And the reason became clear later, because on the 15th, we have a telephone transcript of a discussion between Mr. Mukwena of Lonmin and General Mbombo, who spoke on the phone to say tomorrow is D-Day. and we must act very fast before Julius Malema can come here and resolve this problem like he did in Impala. And we must do so because there was pressure. That was the word they used. Pressure, which has come from Cyril Ramaphosa to the Minister of Police, who sent it to the Minister of Minerals and Energy. And there were emails we now know that were sent to say that the workers were murderers and concomitant action must be taken. And D-Day was then declared. When Matunjwa went there, he told the workers, he went on his knees and said, I'm from there. I can see that a decision has been made. I'm begging you, you must leave this place. Shortly thereafter, Mambush and others were in front, told the workers that let us go. It looks like by then barbed wire was being used to surround the place. They said, let us go and leave the place. And they left the place, led by the group in front, went back to the road that everyone was using to get there. When they got there, that road was closed with barbed wire, so they had to go around the crowd. Before they could reach the road, the part of the road that was open, the TRT, Beret, with machine guns, shot at those people. Makidiwana, who just spoke here, was one of the people. He has 9 bullet wounds on him. And one of his mistakes, we told him later, was because he woke up that morning and he wore a green tracksuit. And you could see that they were targeting to kill Mambush. So some of them they were just told you must kill that one with a green. So they shot Makidiwana and Mambush. Unfortunately, he perished. Makidiwana, they thought was dead, but he survived. So that's what happened between the 9th and the 16th. That is how this massacre came about. The next thing is about justice. All the speakers here have spoken about justice. We are not naive. When we talk about justice here, we're not talking about legal justice. We're not talking about the lawyers will do what they will have to do. I'll come to what's happening with the cases. But this matter is, as Professor Noor was saying, was more about economic justice, not the justice, so-called, that you get in courtrooms. And that justice, as Makidiwana said, has not been addressed. And that is why we say language is important. This was a massacre, not an incident, not a tragedy, not an accident, a massacre, deliberate massacre of people because they are poor, because they are black, because they wanted a living wage. And that's why language is important. Today we are told the other 300 people who were killed a few weeks ago were told that they are looters. So the language that is used is to make sure that already you must not have any sympathy with them. The people who looted our land, who have been looting for 400 years, are not called looters. The looters are the poor and the black masses. 300 of them, whose names we don't even know. And that's why we salute you for this battle against forgetting. Those people are not looters. They are like you and me, and they are driven by hunger, the same as the people who died in Marikana. I just want today really just to say one thing about, I'm glad to share this platform with so many socialists on this platform, on all fronts, starting with the bishop. Because they say that the biggest socialist was Jesus Christ. Viva socialism, viva! What do we mean by that? We mean a system which will not allow things like this to happen, where real justice and inequality will be fought, and that's an area that Comrade Matunja will speak about. Mine, as I said, is a narrow area of legal justice. But I just want to say one thing, forgive me, Program Director, about the wisdom of the working class. Because people think that, when we idolize the working class and some of the people who died here, it's just romanticizing those people. Let me just share with you some of the things that these people, the heroes who fell here, did. Without any union, no leadership, just on their own. They did what I've described over that week. They led every step of the way. They decided who's going to do what, how are they going to protect each other. Some of the people had to sleep over at the Kopi to make sure that nobody overnight comes there to plant things. All that was planned. They decided to send these delegations I was talking about, small delegation here, negotiate, speak to to police generals, reach agreements to protect their members. They decided at a particular point that it was no longer safe. Let us listen. They knew which leaders to listen to, which leaders they were going to reject. And after that, when they were arrested, they dealt with the police, us as the lawyers, and so on. They gave us proper instructions, what to do, what not to do, what not to say in their name. And right through, they gave evidence at the commission without any fancy, presentations. The police went to a place called Wreaths in Potchefstroom for a whole week, 7 days, to rehearse lies as to what they must say to cover each other, with using all the resources of the state. The evidence is now coming out in the court cases that the people, those who were telling the truth, were cut out or schooled as if there's no tomorrow. And the last point I want to make, we should come to the legal report, is this. Something that has touched me so much. The one group of victims that has been paid out is the group of the arrested people. Those who were injured seriously have not been paid. The widows have only been paid loss of support. They have not been paid in full. But when we receive the money of the injured, some of them were paid 400,000 rand, others were paid 300,000 rand, depending on how long they had been arrested. But they did something so that I could not forget. They said, when the money came, the injured people said, you must divide the money and pay us, but can you put aside, take the money from all of us, put aside 1 million rand so that you can pursue the claim against Mr. Ramaphosa and Lonmin. And that money was put in trust. It is still sitting there in trust. Now, the message from that I will leave to other people to analyze. But that is the spirit of solidarity that the workers did on their own. We didn't advise them. The AMCU didn't advise them. They decided that justice must be pursued. With that, I want to come then to where we are now. I've spoken to all the legal teams. When I speak here, I don't speak just for myself. I speak for all the lawyers in the different teams. Nomzamo, Simang, Mapule, Andres, Tlatla, Pradi, and others. there's Advocate Kofa, Advocate Mbraitobi, and many others. Teboko, who was here. In those cases, as I've said, there are 3 different types of cases. The arrested were paid out, and that is why Bheki Cele gave that deceptive report about 178 million. That money sounds like a lot of money, but it is not. It is because they've paid some of the loss of support, but it's because those people who were arrested were many, there were 270 or something. And they all didn't get, nobody of them got even 500,000 rand. But because there were many, the amount sounds like it is a lot. It is not. Matwansi, Makidwane, the people who are really in need of money have not been paid 1 cent. And the case of the widows and the survivors has also, as I explained, not been dealt with. And as far as the other cases are concerned, I want to end with that case, the case of Ramaphosa and Lonmin. What we have done there, last year you know that we gave an ultimatum. That ultimatum was not met, we can report. But even after that, to show that these are reasonable people, the leadership of AMCU has been writing letters to the president. They've been making appeals. 2019 they wrote a letter, 2020 they wrote a letter, this year they wrote a letter. And it has now become clear that all this falls into deaf ears. And the promises of apologies and all sorts of things which were made are not going to be met. As a result of that, we have now asked the Deputy Judge President of the court to set down the case against Mr. Ramaphosa and Sibanye. We were instructed, we have now replaced Lonmin with Sibanye in terms of the rules of court. And we expect, it might even be today or in the next few days, to get a response as to when that case will happen. And it will be in that case that, as somebody said earlier, we will not simply be asking for money, but we're asking for what I call the non-pecuniary retribution and contribution and compensation in the form of apology, of putting people's names without consulting the families, to make sure that that area, as Osisi was saying, is fenced at least, so that it's not a place where goats and all sorts of things move around, and that it is respected. So, and then as far as the seriously injured people are concerned, we have a report. There are about 45 cases. About 8 of them have sat since April. I sat personally in the first one. And only one has been completed. About 7 or 8 of them have been postponed for settlement. Others have not even been processed. And that is really the most hurtful part, because those people, the government accepted liability and of their wrongdoing in 2016 already. It's now 5 years later. They still haven't compensated people to reach them. There's COVID-19 now. We fear that we might lose even more people. So even when that compensation comes, it might be meaningless to some of the people. And even at this late hour, we call on the government, and particularly Mr. Ramaphosa, to say it will be better, it's never too late to do the right thing. It would be better if you apologize and do whatever you promised to do now, rather than doing it because a court has forced you to apologize. Who will accept an apology that is forced by a court? Because it will be clearly not coming from the heart. So it's never too late, but for now, we've told Mr. Matunjwa, you and your patience and your writing of letters, it's enough now. We are now going to take action. And so that is where we are looking at this. Thank you very much. And we will ensure that the legal teams you know that we've been coming to meet. We have met in the past couple of weeks. We have met also, with Seri, that represents the widows. We had a meeting with the NPA in June. And from that meeting with the NPA, it was about the prosecutions and the slow pace of prosecutions and the implementation of FALAM. It became clear that, in fact, when we went there, we were so angry with those prosecutors because we were saying, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. When the meeting finished, we actually ended up sympathizing with them because they explained to us the constraints, that it is the leadership that is not assisting them. That team has been left to fend on its own, and if they really wanted to do prosecutions, they would be done by now. So Nomzamo, myself, we met with the NPA, and we are also pressing that side of compensation. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, Program Director, to take over.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dali, for updating us in terms of what line of action we must follow and what has been happening, and the state of the cases that are pending. My program is now taking another direction. It's no longer going to be like the one that you are holding. We're going to have music. Pindi will come up front and give us a rendition, and then after that I'll call the President to the podium to speak to all of us. The President does not need any introduction. It's our President. We know him very well, and there's nobody who can stand up and say, who's Matunjwa in this group that is sitting up front here. So I think President Matunjwa, after the music rendition here, you'll take to the podium and give us the message of the day.
Where's my laptop? Siyabonga kakhulu. Ngithanda ukuthi ngibingelele omama ngokukhethekile. uThixo sesenguye. Ukube bokuya ngokuthanda komuntu ngabe asikho apha. Kodwa kukhombisa ukuthi uThixo nyani uyaphila. Yebo laba khona usuku lwange-16 zaka August 2012. Laletha usizi, laletha izinyembezi kuni enihlaleni kuthwele njalo empilweni zenu imihla namalanga. Kodwa futhi uThixo walakha futhi lunye usuku olulandulela lolo olalubuhlungu lwesebuhlungu nangoku. Kodwa ngenxa yamandla akhe nangobubele bakhe kwathiwa niqetshiwe. Kanti uThixo ukhona usanibambile ngesandla sakhe. Ngalawo mazwi ngithi ngiyanamukela, ngiyabonga ukuba nani kuyo yonke imfazwe enibhekene nayo imihla namalanga. Kodwa kuyabonakala ukuthi uThixo enene unguThixo wezimo zonke. Ngiphinde ngibingelele i-leadership yenhlangano ekhona phakathi. Ngiphinde futhi ngibingelele i-leadership yase-region nama-branch emasebeni e-AMCO. Ndithi comrade qina comrade. Siyazi ukuba inhlangano nenhlangano uma ingaqinanga emasebeni noma ungaba nayo i-national office kodwa uma ingekho phaya emasebeni ihleli izinzile akho organization apho. So i-AMCO iqine ngoba kukhona nina, ngoba nazi ukuthi nibuyaphi okanye futhi niyazi ukuba kuyiwa kuphi. So ngaloko ke ndiyasho ukuthi ngiyanibingelela. Ndiphinde futhi ngibingelele uBishop ngokukhethekile, the man of God, the man of rope, for your tireless effort and struggle as a lonely voice to fight for injustices in this country. Before I was born, you were already fighting. I'm getting old, we are still fighting. May Almighty God give you life in abundance, a clean bill of health, and your family. And also Comrade Dali, the Lone Ranger. Uma ungazi ukuthi kukhona umuntu onenhliziyo enhle eSouth Africa, that means awumazi uComrade Dali. So uComrade Dali ucomrade ongafuna ukubona omunye umuntu ahlushwa. Sibe naye Marikana commemoration amaninzi, sibe nayo ku-commission, kwi-Falam Commission of Omission. Ngizongiqalela isingisa ngisazi, ngizasilungisa uma ngabe ndimoshile. Ulokamile namhlanje siyambona futhi umile nakuba former president Zuma. Ukube bekomunye umuntu bezothi beku-administration yakho le eyagila ama-client amphaya ndimela kude. Kodwa ngoba uhamba ngobulungiswa, akayi ngokuthi umuntu wenzeni, kodwa uhamba ngobulungiswa, siyambona ukuthi uyalimela iqiniso ngamaxesha onke. Professor, no. Also, I greet you and thank you once more to be part of the struggle, integral part of the struggle. Comrade Brian, all the way from Cape Town, he decided to leave everything to say, where my family meet, I will be there. Thank you very much, Comrade Brian. Comrade Brian has introduced us in many comrades across the globe. If it wasn't because of Comrade Brian, wouldn't be known, AMCO wouldn't be known across the globe that it is a union. I remember when he calls me, he said, hey, comrade, we need to go abroad because the name of AMCO is being vilified, is being painted as a monster trade union, yellow union. We need to get a platform in Germany. Go and talk to the big trade union federation in Germany, because the manner in which AMCO has been labeled is not good for the workers in South Africa. And we left, and then we got to Germany. We met big trade union federation, of which some of them, they donated to the trust fund, Marikana AMCO Trust Fund, those federations. When we table and tell the story, the journey of AMCO, they were very convinced that yes, indeed, this is not a yellow trade union. This is the union for the masses who are downtrodden by the white monopoly capital. The list is endless, Comrade Brian, but thank you very much to be present. Leadership of AMCO, media presence. The 9th commemoration of the Marikana massacre. The massacre itself, it happened in the area called Marikana, but it should be called Sibanye Stillwater massacre. Maybe down the line you'll understand why I kept on saying this is Sibanye Stillwater massacre. And then you will realize why I kept on saying this. Today we converge for the 9th Marikana massacre commemoration amid the number of challenges that are facing people of South Africa. The living and working condition of mine workers have not transformed 9 years post Marikana Sibanye Stillwater massacre. The theme for the Marikana massacre Stillwater commemoration is to remember that the state killed our brothers and their blood still cries from the ground. The story of Cain and Abel in the Bible is befitting, since if you are not your brother's keeper, you are your brother's killer. Our government killed struggling workers in order to reassure the foreign direct investors that their money was safe in this country. The state is the keeper of a foreign direct investment in the expense of its own people, even today. In 2012, I said the following on the mountain called Kopi. The life of the black person is cheap in Africa. They will kill you and they will replace you. And indeed, they did just like that. They don't like the word massacre. They prefer to use the word like tragedy or even incident. Why? Because they want to hide their sins and their evil deeds. The truth seeker of truth never loses hope. The true seeker of real justice never tires. Truth must seek justice. Justice must seek the truth. When justice triumphs, the truth will reign on earth. Close quote, Ngungi wa Thiong'o. We remain the only vanguard of the working class that is a quest for the truth and economic justice in South Africa. Capitalism is the enemy of humankind. It was built on the suffering of the black Africans. I said it in the previous commemorations that the African map is shaped like a T-bone steak, the T-bone steak. And the continent continues to be subjected to looting. In 2014, during the 5-month strike, we handed the government evidence of tax evasion and transfer of pricing that was happening in the mining and called for a commission of inquiry, but to this was never done. All the information was given to them with the help of the AIDC, but even today, nothing has sufficed. In the Holy Bible, in the book of Luke, chapter 16, verse 19 to verse 31, we read of the two men, Lazarus and the rich man. Lazarus lived a life of poverty and poor health, with his source being linked by dogs. He longed for the crumbs from the rich man's table. He died and went to heaven, and the rich man died and went to hell. In the Hades, the rich man longed for water from Lazarus, while Lazarus was in heaven. But allow me, I will come later to this text. Today we are experiencing a new triple challenge, and we are not tired of the narrative of inequality and poverty and unemployment. This new triple challenge consists of the following three deadly sins or evils: excessive materialism, also called greed, like a rich man in Luke chapter 16, who sought to amass excessive wealth and did not care about the people living around him. Racism, including tribalism, sin incorporate job preservation strategies and continuous employment of white managers and executives in the country with a majority of black people. Example, Sibanye Stillwater. Go and check the top executive of Sibanye Stillwater. You could see it's lily white. The third sins, a fascist state or militarism that attacks citizens to protect the interests of the few aristocrats in politics and business. In 2014 commemoration, I said the following: if there will be a violence in this country, it will be caused by the fact that we are not able to share the resources of this country equitably. That was 2014. Check what is happening today. The hunger of the masses for basic things like shelter, food, and good public services is nothing compared to the greed and the hunger of the politician for money and power. Thomas Piketty has warned capitalists that if they do not address inequality, otherwise this system will not be sustainable. South Africa is one of the most unequal societies in the world. The system is crumbling due to poverty, unemployment, with lootings that have left the country negative in terms of their budget. Recently, we also experienced the poverty that people have portrayed in the screens when they were running for food, and they call them looters. And those who are looting the real mineral resources of the country, they are called investors. The question is, what makes a failed state? What is it that takes a country to be placed of being called a failed state? One of the first signs is when the government unleashes military to quell violence or protest. Pardon me, not violence, to quell protest. As AMCO, we had a first-hand experience of this on the 16th of August 2012, when the state security forces were unleashed on workers protesting for a living wage and economical emancipation. As we have said on numerous occasions, unemployment in South Africa is by design. To address it, as said in my previous commemoration speeches, the economic policies must be radically transformed. Our resources are plundered due to our open economic policies, and we cannot protect local industries as long as we are having these kinds of policies. In our previous Marikana commemoration, we indicated that in 2016, we marched to the Union Building on Section 77 to protest. With a protest march, we made proposals that 60% of our mineral resources be exported, and while 40% should remain behind for beneficiation. This was an effort of putting together ideas for job creation. We previously spoke about the education system that has no relation with our economy. So our education does not assist to address the unemployment in this country. If I was the Minister of Higher Education, I will close all universities until they can produce a graduate that can turn platinum into a finished product. We have an education system that supports extractive of mining resources, producing graduates that they can only efficiently remove as many ounces of platinum from underground as possible with no competency to beneficiation. This has led to one mining job in South Africa, support 4 in Europe. We continue to export jobs. South Africa is one of the most unequal societies in the world. The monthly pension fund contribution of some CEOs is more than what a rock drill operator earns in a full year. The levels of inequality in South Africa are such that Sibanye CEO has the arrogance to earn 150 million in bonuses per annum, but has the audacity of offering 250 rands wage increase in gold sector for 2021 wage negotiations. To workers in gold negotiation, this violent inequality is unsustainable, and it has the same lethal force on workers as the bullets that shattered our members on the 16th of August 2012. AMCO came with the term economic emancipation when it was not fashionable. Democracy without economic power is a non-starter. Let us call it a democratic government. It is a demon. They are so quick to pass legislation that is anti-God, legislation that is anti-human, the legislation that is anti-African. Today, the platinum price is over $1,024 per ounce, which is about 16,000 rand per ounce. Mine workers were demanding by then the minimum of 12,500. How many ounces do these workers produce per day, week, a month? They produce thousands of these ounces, and yet they are paid less than 1 ounce per month in wages. The Freedom Charter states that all shall benefit from the mineral wealth of this country. This is our God-given commodity, and our forefathers saw it fit to include this into the founding document of our struggle. We have seen how poverty can trigger social unrest and lead to catastrophic social outcomes such as one in Durban, KZN, and in Gauteng. This was just another massacre in Phoenix. Maybe we will really call it Phoenix massacre. The massacre of apartheid government are well known. Maibuye uprising 1952, 1108, 13 people were killed. Sharpeville massacre 1963, 21, 69 people were killed. Soweto uprising 1976, 06, 16, 76 people were killed. Langa massacre 1985, 321, 35 people were killed. Then we have a black democratic government in 1994, and the first massacre is Marikana massacre on the 16th of August 2012. 44 people perished. Then we have Life Esidimeni. Then we have Kolobeni. Then we have Phoenix recently. How can we forget? The Marikana massacre was a direct attack on a vision of economic emancipation and a fight for a living wage. Although 34 workers were killed, breadwinners, the symbolism was for a broader, as an act of killing workers' dreams for a better life. It showed how far capital was prepared to go to protect its wealth, actually our wealth, which they stole from us. The toxic collusion between the state and capital continues to show its ugly head. To date, workers are still picking the crumbs from the table of the rich. Our members are still produce wealth that they do not even benefit from. In the honor of the fallen Marikana martyrs, we need to say enough is enough. The 250 increase proposed by Sibanye in the gold sector negotiations, which is less than a 350 social grant given by the government, is rejected and in honor of our fallen comrades. We note the arrogance of Sibanye Stillwater and its toxic collusion with the state in 2019, wage negotiations and the strike. We prevented another Marikana massacre where Sibanye was colluding with the police in preparation to attack AMCO members who were in the protected strike at Sibanye. Sibanye Stillwater was servicing the police in Yalas and all the vehicles that were to be used to unleash violence against the members of AMCO who were in the protected strike. And we quickly brought this to the attention of the minister, of the sitting minister, and to the sitting president of the country. But even today, there was no answers. We are seeing the same collusion at Impala Platinum recently, where the CEO, Mr. Miller, is sitting with the trade union that is not recognized, discussing the organizational right at Impala, at the secret meetings, seeking to destabilize workers and seeking to destabilize AMCO and the industrial relation in pursuance of protecting their interest. They are undermining COVID-19. They were undermining COVID-19 rules, calling the mass meetings to arrange unprotected strike, and Impala done nothing. Cases were open in Rustenburg. No arrests were made to the conveners. But we are surprised when we see the government, when other people are arrested for breaching or breaking the COVID-19 regulations, Whereas in Rustenburg, more than 2 cases were open for the people who were convening meetings without following COVID-19 regulations. No one, with the video, with everything presented to them, with the footage, but there is no one who has been arrested. Is the government telling us that AMCO should also call 50,000 workers for mass meetings? Is what we are telling us? Are we living in times of Animal Farm? It is time for the working class to unite and stop to be used by white monopoly capital as a cannon fodder. As I conclude, I was to refer you to the above scripture or verse in the book of Luke chapter 16, verse 19 to 31. Talk about excessive materialism. If the man does not have a job and income, this man has been robbed of his dignity, human dignity. And he has no escape sign from poverty. You don't have work, you don't have income, and where you are bottled or where you are fenced, you don't see any sign of exit. Where would I exit from this poverty? Your wealth and your position must not close the gap. Your wealth and your position must close the gap between the rich and the poor. Davis did not go to hell because he was rich. If you read the book of this guy, of these 2 gentlemen, one was rich, one was poor. But that does not suggest that Davis went to hell because he was rich. No. It's not that Lazarus, because he was poor, he went to heaven. No, the Bible does not suggest that. But Davis, what he does, he allows his riches to make his brother invisible. So our riches and our position shouldn't translate to make our brothers invisible, but it must make our brothers also visible. Davis went to hell because he increased his opulence in the expense of the poor Lazarus. As we see even in our country, in South Africa, people, they are increasing their opulence in the expense of the marginalized people. It's not a sin to be rich. It's not a sin. But how you use your riches to oppress other people, that is what is becoming a sin. You can't use your power and your position to exploit those who are downtrodden. So Davis is not different to some of our leaders. They increase their wealth in the expense of the marginalized. We are not fighting those who are rich. They can continue to be rich, but not in the expense of the masses. It cannot be. The riches that they have should close the gap of inequality. The riches and our position we must use to influence, to get those who are in the pit of poverty, to pull them up, but not use our positions and our riches to bury them in the pit of poverty. Then I'm telling you, the hell is opening for you. If you don't believe, you'll believe when you are in the door of hell. South Africa, you are rich. You are a rich country. I beseech you to start from today to minimize poverty and maximize equality. Your power should work to transform other people's life. Capitalism is characterized by the mass accumulation by the elite and political connected. This has created a great divide between the rich and the poor, like Lazarus and the rich man. Mining communities remain very poor, and yet they have precious commodities around them. We continue to demand that prior to DMR issuing mining license, they must make it a requirement that these companies build schools, houses, hospital, university in the community before issuing licenses. So it must be part of their license. These companies, in these licenses, there must be light industries around those communities to beneficiate and to upskill the community in order to able to have a proper skill to work in these mines. Our call as AMCO, as we've been calling previously, we've been saying, Sibanye Stillwater, release these widows to go back home and be paid until pensionable age. Full salary. Let's talk about the same Prime Minister called Neil Froneman of South Africa. How would you feel if you were part of the breadwinners who were massacred on the 16th of August 2012? And after a few months, your wife be employed to work in the same shaft that you've been working to. How would you feel? You talk of renewal. I challenge you. I think the first renewal that you need to do is to renew your soul and your conscience, and the rest will be history. You can't talk of renewal for PR exercise without talking about the renewal of the soul and the renewal of the conscience. That's what we need even into our political leaders. The renewal of the soul and the renewal of their conscience. South Africa will be in a better position at the end of the day. As we continue commemorating these days year and after year, we should remember that we as South African, particular blacks, we are on our own. Foreign direct investors, they are coming here to make money, not to look after your life and your future of your children. Africa has been raped for its minerals and left us without nothing. It's like becoming a generational curse. This is not a curse. Huh? We just have to wake up from our slumber. Silele siphethe ubuthongo sidonsa ingubo. Izizwe ziyanotha zinotha ngathi. Koze kube nini na sidlalwa amanye amadoda. Vuka Africa kulobuthongo leli kubona. Ayikho into zolokupronyiswa umunye umuntu. Amadoda sebenzela izisu zawo. And the minerals of the country supposed ukuthi afite wonke umuntu, even in the space in the province where there is no mineral, but the blueprint of minerals, you must feel it and touch it and smell it and eat it. Comrade, how can we forget Lily Mine? It shows how brutal capitalism is. using our own power vested to our leaders. If 500 billion was set aside for PPE, we just ask only 500 million or 300 million to retain the container at Lilimai. You know, if one of the politicians sneak or took 500 million aside and said he paid the company to retrieve the container, surely even the SIU wouldn't come closer to him. I pledged in Lilimai my first salary, and they went and contradict my pledge and threatening me with legal action to say who I am to pledge on behalf of the families. But that money is still sitting there. I even challenged the government to say, in my monthly salary, little as it is, I also pledge, I challenge you to come and pledge. Let's go and retrieve that container there. The issue of Lilimine has becoming a political PR for many. The business people, even including black businesses, they are using that one for their own selfish interest, not for the sake of those who are still trapped there. If we do have a caring president, Mr. President, I beseech you, in the wealth that you have and my 1 month salary, can we go and retrieve that container at Lilimine? Democratic government, caring government, moving forward together, but we still have got 3 human beings that are still in the belly of the earth, which was buried by white monopoly capital. No manager has been arrested. That's why AMCO is keep on calling, let's amend Mine Health and Safety Act. These CEOs must be arrested. And I'm glad to announce that after our own investigation, compiling all the report of Section 72 of Mine Health and Safety, Neil Froneman must be arrested. I challenge Babu Bheki Cele must go and arrest Neil Froneman with all the deaths that has been happening in his mine. There is a recommendation from Section 72 report that Froneman must be arrested. So I hope before 48 hours, Neil Froneman will be reporting at Rustenburg prison or police station. Then I will see that in reality this justice is for all of us. It's not for those who are poor and resonate those who are rich. And the list is endless. We're still going for the Kloof mine workers who perished, 7 of them, under Neil Froneman. We still want to go to get that Section 72. What was the recommendation of the DMR Inspectorate, the findings? But the one that we are sure of is the one for Lonmin, that the CEO of the mine must be arrested for killing one of our own underground. Let's see that the minister is working. We like to see minister arresting Neil Froneman, put him right in the back of the SAPS van, driven to the police station of Marikana, as they did when they arrested our comrade, our brothers, when they were fighting for economical emancipation. Comrade, greater political will must be exercised to ensure that community development is not relied upon the company's discretion. We are calling for the government to incorporate the mining charter into MPRDA. Once the mining charter is incorporated into an MPRDA, that will change the form of the communities around these mines. As it stands, is just a code of good practice. It does not have any recourse in law. So they do as they feel when they like. If they don't like, they don't comply. Hence, you still see Marikana, Nkaneng as it is today, because the social labor plan is becoming a good practice for them. But if it was law, if it was regulated, I'm telling you, those mining companies would have changed the livelihood of the community of Marikana. It is our plea to the government that the MPRDA, the mining charter, should be made part of the MPRDA that will change from good practices and becoming an act of parliament. Then we will see all mine communities benefiting from this mineral. But as things stand today, no communities will ever benefit from this mineral. In closing, the struggle continues. Is not yet Uhuru. If we can liberate our mind and not to be dependent on someone, then we will change Africa. We will change South Africa. These minerals must change the lives of the people of South Africa. As it is the month, Women's Month, we congratulate those fallen heroes and heroines who lost their lives in the struggle to change the lives of us all who are still left behind. A man who raped a woman is not a man. Let me repeat. His penis must be cut off. That's the least that we can do. I thought I would hear Amandla. So if you cannot control your penis, so I think some blade, something the doctors can do better. They can just cut it off because you don't know where it belongs. It belongs everywhere. If a man hurt a woman, put a hand on a woman, the hand must be chopped off. It's not simple, it's very simple, because other people, they need hand to work, to feed their families. You use your hand to assault women. So you don't need the hand. So just chop it off. It's simple as that. It's like when you steal, and there is a proof that surely their hands should be off by now. This crime that is happening in this country is delaying us to move forward. And they leave it deliberately, not addressing it. And the Constitution, I still believe, this Constitution that we have, good as it may, but it was just a transitional document. It has delayed us, black majority of this country. The Constitution must be amended. The Constitution must talk to our needs. Not to protect the needs of the individual and the rich. If you don't have money, you will never see the door of justice. Electoral system, it has to change. If you want to save South Africa under the current situation, those who are in parliament, they must make sure that the electoral system changes. The president must not be elected by his political party. The president must be elected by the people of the country. Then he will be accountable to the people, not to his political party. And all those public positions, your premier, your mayor, your councillor, the people of the area must elect you. They must contest you. We must come in this hall and say, if I want to be a president, what will deliver? We must check the track record, whether we are a criminal, whether you are what, you are involved in other, then you don't stay. Here in South Africa is nice. You can send an email, people be killed, and tomorrow you are the president. How nice is this country? The step aside, what protocol or procedure? They must come and ask an AMCO how we use it. We use it brutally so. Come, we'll teach you. when we say step aside, what it means. It starts from the top. So if we are serious about saving the future of South Africans, let's change this constitution. The constitution must speak to the people of the country. If the constitution does not address the needs of the people, that means it's not a constitution. If the electoral system does not put the leaders that have got empathy and compassion to the people, then we don't have leaders. A leader without compassion is a dead, empty leader. Because I don't believe that when they pass all this street and these communities, they don't see poverty. They see poverty. But because they don't have compassion, they just don't care. Comrade, allow me to say, long live the spirit of Marikana 34, long live. Long live. Long live the spirit of Comrade Mambush, long live. Long live. Long live the working class, long live. Long live. Down with yellow trade unions, down. Nkulunkulu anibusise, aniphe amandla, asiqinise, ngizobuyisela kuwe mphathi wohlelo.
Thank you, President. Thank you very much for such an inspiring message of the day in remembrance of the Marikana massacre. That time has come again. They are now lighting the candles. In the background there will be a soft music by Pindi and her group. And then I'll go into action and read the names of our fallen comrades. Can they join me in a soft music? And may I request, while I'm reading the names, we all stand up, please, so that we remember our fallen comrades. These are the names of the comrades who were killed on the 16th of August in 2012 at Marikana. Stelega Merrick Gadlela, Tembinkosi Kwelani, Patrick Akona Jijasi Mabia, Togoti Manojwa, Anele Mjizeni, Bongani Mze, Makosandile Mkonjwa, Telehang Muhai, Kanari Elias Munisa, Tabiso Johannes Musebetsane, Tobile Mpumza, Babalo Mchazi, Michael Ngwei, Mpumzeni Nqande, Ntandazo Nokhamba, Mgcineni Noki, Bongani Ngongophele, Mongezeleli Ntenecha, Andris Nzeyaho, Molifi Osiel Ntswele, Henry Mvuyisi Pato, Modisa Sotsile, Van Wyk Sagalala, Fezile David Sapendu, Mzugisi Sompeta, Tabiso Johannes Telejani, Mpangeli Tukuza, Nkosi yabo Xalabile, Cebisile Yawa, Bonginkosi Vona, Thobisile Zibambele, and John Kutlwano Lidingwan. May their soul rest in peace. Thank you very much. What we are going to do now, we will ask Bishop Paul Bahrain to come and pray and close this session, and then we'll be crossing over to Marikana for the laying of wreaths. Bishop.
Let us pray. We thank you, Lord, for the lives of those who have paid the sacrifice for justice. And like Lazarus, we can see them in your presence. Continue to comfort those who mourn. May your presence and your compassion enfold them in their pain that passes understanding. We pray for our future in this country, Lord. Have mercy on us, so that the poor may be poor no longer, so that the disabled and broken may find a place of healing. Open our eyes so that we can see one another properly, as made in the image of God. Ransom, heal, restore, empower us. In the name of Christ. Amen.
Okay, what is going to happen now? We'll be crossing to Marikana, and after the laying of the wreath, Bishop will pronounce the benediction. Can I request Pindile and her group to give us another song? And maybe before that, we also received lately a message of support from our friends far away. I would like that to be flighted on the screen here so that we read it. I think it is in Northern America and other workers from somewhere else. So we would appreciate that if it can be done. Pindile, can you give us? Thank you very much. We are going to request izocela umama beze ngokulandelana kwabo omunye athathe ikhandlela njalo njalo while we are crossing. Yes, umama ucela ukuthi beze ngaphambili then bazothatha amakhandlela beme khona lapha phambi kwethu. Please. Ngicela usisindi lapha abazobasiza ngokubanikezela abasishana mabeza ngaphambili. Thembekile. Can you assist us please? Ningeza nangapha umama then uqale ngapho sisithembekile aqale ngapha sohlala ngapha. Huh? Yeah, I'll give them. It's fine. Can you play? Okay. Now, what is happening? We have crossed over to Marikana, where there's a laying of wreaths. So this is what we are seeing here on the copy. I think they can hear us very well that side. Nankama comrade to Emile Paya. So he'll assess corner mic. Thank you. If they are hearing us, Marikana, I think this is the time of laying of wreaths. Comrade Putuma, you can continue with your team laying those wreaths. Comrade Putuma, you can continue with your team there. Singaqhubeka ama-comrade sibeke izimbali if niyasizwa over. Can you assist us to communicate the message? I don't think by music. Sound.